All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the second meeting of the Project Advisory Committee for the Naugatuck+Valley Active Transportation Plan this year. We're excited that we're getting this group back together and we're moving this process along. So quickly, let's first go around the table here. We'll all introduce ourselves. And then we can go online and have folks online that are joining also introduce themselves. So Mark, why don't you start?
Mark Nelson, Assistant Director, NVCOG.
Matthew Abbott, Intergovernmental Affairs Unit, CTDOT.
Aaron Butters, NVCOG.
Danny Thomas, GIS Analyst, NVCOG.
Ty Olale, Transportation Planner, NVCOG.
Kate Pipa, Transportation Planner, NVCOG. All right, and let's go maybe to Jack. I see you first.
Jack Walsh, Advisory Committee for the Naugatuck River Greenway and Bobble Derby.
Chris
Roberts, I'm with the Active Transportation Unit at Connecticut DOT.
Natalie.
Sorry, trying to find unmute. Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm with AARP Connecticut.
How about Jerry?
Jerry Lukowski, Director of Public Works, Watertown.
And then Amy.
Hi, Amy Watkins from Watch from ECT.
All right, thank you all for joining. And let me just go over quickly, and Chris, feel free to jump in at all. This is just a little overview of so the state is doing their active transportation plan right now. They finished up their round of open houses earlier this year. And one of the next pieces was reaching out to municipalities to get some information from them. And as NVCOG, we reached out to our municipalities, the 19 in our region, 12 responded. I just wanted to share briefly some of this information. One of the things that we did ask is which municipalities have complete streets policies. We feel like this is something that we could assist with, and we have, and the only one that responded yes was Bristol. We did note that some municipalities have sidewalk gaps maps, which also could be helpful when we're mapping our conditions, and that those were Bethel, Cheshire, and Plymouth. Other questions of note were if municipalities have advisory groups. So there are different types of advisory groups. I think it really depends on the municipality. Some have Main Street groups, some have streetscape groups, some have trail groups. So of note, Cheshire, Oxford, Southbury, Plymouth, and Wolcott do have advisory groups that relate to active transportation. Again, some have to do with cycling, some are more walking. And again, some don't have any, and they just indicated that maybe their public works department or their parks and rec department kind of handle some of those things. And then just there was a question about what would a municipality like assistance with, or what they would like to see. And overwhelmingly, most did say that they would like funding for local jurisdictions to compete for infrastructure improvement. Again, we maybe interpreted that as assistance in writing and applying for grants and or access to funding. We also noted that folks did want assistance with planning, model complete streets policies, model language for shared micromobility programs, and model maintenance policies and plans. And I'm just looking at the chat. I believe the towns we didn't hear back from were Derby, Shelton, Ansonia, Seymour, Naugatuck, Middlebury and Prospect. But again, okay, here's. Okay, so the next thing. So now we're gonna talk a bit more about our active transportation plan and what's been written so far. And I'll pass it over to Mark to go over the first two chapters.
Minimize the side there.
Okay, sure.
And good morning. Just wanted to give a quick status report of, where we are with the active transportation plan. As you know, from the last meeting, we talked about working on several chapters of the plan. And right now we have two that have been completed that we want to circulate after this meeting, probably tomorrow to the group. To start getting some comments and further suggestions. Chapter 1 was dealt with the purpose, goal, vision for doing an active transportation plan. Basically the purpose is, just to identify the needs, deficiencies, and need for improvements. And the real purpose is trying to reduce serious and fatal injuries that occur to pedestrians and bicyclists and others who are, using some form of micro-mobility device. We presented some brief overview of the safety crash data last time. And, some of the numbers are just unacceptable. Too many people are being seriously injured when they are involved in a crash. And, unfortunately, pedestrians and bicyclists are more vulnerable when they do get involved in a crash. So that's a real purpose behind this plan, is to reduce the incidence of those types of crashes. We did put together a vision statement, which is up on the screen. This actually had been put together, I think last year, when Elliot had initiated the project. This vision statement was put together by the committee, and we feel it's still valid. I put it up on the screen. It's in the report. Take a look at it and offer any suggestions. Right now, it reads: the Naugatuck+Valley Active Transportation Plan will advance NVCOG's goal in mobility equity by investing in a regional active transportation network that ensures walking, rolling, bicycling, and other forms of active transportation are viable, convenient, and safe options for all users, regardless of age, ability, and income. So the intent of the vision is that we are trying to create a system for all travelers throughout the region, regardless of whether they're, what kind of mode they're using, but really trying to make it safe for people to walk around the region, to use a micro mobility device, to bicycle, and any other form. So that's our vision, and that will be the overriding principle for the plan. Our chief goals of the plan are basically two. Again, is achieving the goal of Vision Zero policy that we do have at the region. And again, that's just related to the main purpose, reducing serious and fatal injury crashes. And then, the overriding goal is just to enhance the pedestrian bicycle facilities throughout the region. We are working also on a complete streets policy for the region. The state does have a complete streets policy that basically says that, complete streets are trying to make the street environment, attractive, safe for all users, regardless whether they're driving or riding a bicycle or walking. So we're putting together a policy for the region. That's, trying to mimic quite a bit of the states, but also, tailoring it to the specifics for our region. Again, it's in that first chapter. If you, take a look at it and, see if there's any, have any comments, edits, or suggestions. But again, the overriding intent of the complete streets policy is to sort of change our focus of a street from just for auto travel to accommodate all. And again, the intent of the policy is that what we suggest or what gets implemented needs to be related to the context of the neighborhood in which the road, passes through. So a very intensely developed urban downtown area will have different elements that we'd like to see implemented than a more suburban downtown area or commercial center or, the town center. So the types of actions really are going to be dictated by the environment in which it is located. So those are the main elements of chapter 1. Again, we'll be sending that out and asking for everybody's comments and suggestions. Before we move on, any questions, comments on anything so far on this first chapter? Okay, moving on. The second chapter that we're going to be sending out tomorrow is basically focused in on the regional profile. It's a very generic or basic type of chapter. It just tries to set the baseline for what the region is, how it's made up and how it's composed. So we're going to be, it talks about all the demographic data, population, the age, income, means of transportation, vehicle availability. These are the types of variables that sort of influence how people decide to walk or ride. Urban area and the population density really do have an impact on the propensity for people to walk or bicycle. Age is also key because we want to know the population makeup of the region. Is depending on your age, you're going to have different needs for either riding or walking. Means of transportation is just to get a sense of how many people do currently ride a bike or walk, and this is to work. The data is from the Census Bureau, and it's a little bit limited, but it does give us a little bit of background of what the makeup is currently like. And vehicle availability just is really important because an area that has fewer households that have a vehicle are going to be more likely to have to rely on walking or bicycling. So we want to sort of target some of our improvements to those areas. The existing conditions is the next chapter. It's actually going to be chapter 3, but I wanted to just give you an update on where we are and putting that together. Again, this will form the baseline. We want to assess, the existing pattern of pedestrian movement in our downtown areas. We're looking at the existing bike network that's available, our multi-use trail system, and then we also give a pretty detailed assessment of safety. And at this point, I just want to pause and just sort of suggest what we do want to try to do as part of identifying the existing conditions. We are going to be reaching out to all 19 towns in the region. First through an email solicitation for some information. We're also going to be trying to set up more one-on-one meetings or conversations with people in each of our towns to get their sense of what is currently available in each of their towns, where they see problem areas and need for improvement. So we will, just a heads up that we will be reaching out to all 19 of our towns over the next coming weeks. But before we move on, any questions, comments?
Just a quick question, with the responses you got before, who's been filling out the stuff from the cities? Are we the right people?
So we sent those surveys to the municipal CEOs and our members of TTAC, who's the Technical Transportation Advisory Committee here. And we had a mix of folks respond. We were really asking that the person that we wanted to respond were the ones who are involved with any of the bike walk infrastructure. So we did have a range, whether it was a first selectman to a director of public works to director of engineering. I would say those are pretty much who responded. A land use administrator and as well as a consultant that works on these things. So we kind of got a wide range, but again, it depends on really who's in charge of this type of initiative in their municipality.
And Jack, what we're gonna be trying to do is, like I said, do a deeper dive with the municipalities. The state survey, was much more high level. They wanted to get a sense of what, has been going on in the towns, especially related to, active transportation planning, or activities. We're gonna try to, really reach out to, key people in each of the towns, and we'll also be, your experience with the NRG steering committee, members of that group will definitely be asked to participate in those meetings because they're very active on the Greenway. But yeah, we'll be reaching out. Kate said, CEOs, planners, the town engineer, public works. And if a town has a Greenway committee, I know Thomason has one, a lot of towns have some kind of a bike walk type of committee. We'll be reaching out to all and try to get them all in the same room so we can talk about issues, needs, deficiencies, and what they'd like to see going forward.
Yeah, I was just concerned, sometimes those things go out to the chief elected official and they die on the desk.
Yep. Yeah, we've been there. Yeah, it happens way too often. And again, I think what we tried to do here, Jack, is, the state sent out the survey and then we also sent it out because we, staff here know who to sort of send it to. And I forget, but I think our region was actually a fairly high response rate. So, because what we had 12 out of 19 of our towns actually responded to the state survey, which was, a pretty good response compared to other regions of the state. So, but like I said, we're going to be trying to reach out and, really doing a deeper dive into what's going on. Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, so the next thing we wanted to sort of talk about is one of the key features that we'd like to include in an active transportation plan is looking at the roads throughout the region and sort of getting an idea of whether or not we could create an interconnected network of on-road bike routes. And the idea would be that this would shared road facilities. We're not talking about, in building, bike lanes on all these roads, but looking at the roads and seeing how they can connect to our downtown, connect to key attractions throughout the region. And, it would be looking at the characteristics of the road that we might suggest, suitability, is the road wide enough to actually accommodate, both bicyclists and motorized traffic? The speeds of traffic, are they too excessive to really think that bicyclists would be comfortable or safe riding on? Volume is going to be a key issue. Higher volume roads are going to be less desirable. The road grade. One of the problems we do have in the Naugatuck+Valley is we do have some steep slopes because we have two rivers that form kind of steep walled valleys. So that's going to constrain some of the riding ability. Curb cuts. That's a big issue in a lot of commercial areas. We have a very high density of closely spaced curb cuts. It detracts from a good riding experience. One of the things we did look at or see in the crash data is there's a number of crashes that occur, at commercial driveway, points. Some, cars coming out, pulling out of a access driveway from a commercial site, hitting somebody who's riding along the road because they sometimes don't see them. Anyway, so what we're gonna be asking, the committee to do is making some suggestions about, what roads we should be looking at. We're gonna be sort of focusing in on the state route network throughout the region. But we'd also like to hear about any local roads that, are either being used by, bicyclists now, or, make better connections than a state road, make that connection. So, the map I sort of popped up here is just, just sort of an image of the region with the main, state roads and, higher function roads such as collectors are highlighted. And then we've been starting to do this in-house, just taking a highlighter and drawing some lines on the map to see how we could connect things. Tayo is going to be extracting data from, we have access to streetlight data, which is transportation data analytics company, to get traffic volumes on all these roads. And we also can pull down some other data from streetlight to give us an idea of possibly of speed and things like that. Just to get a sense of whether it would, these roads may make sense or not. And then as we narrow the list down, we'll go out and do some field tests to see if it really does make sense to add these to a road on bike route network. And then, of course, then the key will be, okay, what kinds of enhancements should we, recommend for these facilities to accommodate that? Either, near, widening the shoulder area, adding signage, maintaining things like that. Jack, you were gonna say something?
Well, just a quick reminder that, I don't know, probably was about 8, 9, 10 years ago. We did have that 1-day bike ride all the way from Torrington down to Derby, and most of that was on street roads at that time. Just something would overlay on the map that you've got there.
Yes, and again, that is, excuse me, that is a key possibility, because we do have, I think in some ways, our region is we got quite a few off-road multi-use trails. We have the Naugatuck River Greenway, but we also have a section of the Farmington Canal Trail. We have the Larkin Trail, which goes through 3 or 4 towns. We have the Middlebury Greenway. Watertown is working on the Steel Brook. That's another key thing we're going to try to look at with this on-road system, is how to connect all of these multi-use trails. And that example, and Jack, unfortunately, I think that ride was back almost 15 years ago. It was like 2012.
Before me, yeah, 2012, I think.
So it's time goes by, but again, that's a good, thing that we'll be looking at, is how to connect on road, to some of these shared use trails.
I don't even remember who put that together, but it did work out. They did come the whole 41 miles on Sunday. Of course, Sunday would be a good day to do it because there's not as much traffic, but it was a good event.
Yeah, Aaron just reminded, I think it was Sam Gold when he was senior planner. He wasn't director at the time yet. So
We had
yeah, it's probably something we should say again, Jack. I'm sorry.
There were about 40 people that did the whole thing.
Yeah, no. No, it's actually something we probably should think about, doing again, because it was kind of, it gives publicity to the trail, and, gets some people energized for riding. So something to think about. So again, like I said, it's a matter of, this sort of segues into the next slide that we popped up here. But any ideas for, bike routes that you'd like to see on a map, please give us suggestions. Right now we're taking a long list. So we're gonna be looking at, any and all roads that, you people think are, reasonable. And then we'll do some more, vetting as we, go through. But, and again, we'll be asking each of our towns to sort of do the same thing, so the more suggestions we get out there, the better. So, we're moving on. And this leads us into the next thing. We do want to start pulling together some suggestions and thoughts from each of our towns about what they see are the priority locations that we should sort of focus in on for improvements and enhancements. Areas that we want to sort of close gaps, where there's either gaps in, the sidewalk network. We all have experiences in our towns where the sidewalks are built and then all of a sudden they end. And you're sort of, somebody who's walking is sort of left in the middle of nowhere to figure out, okay, where do I go from here? There's a good example in Shelton where they have the sidewalks coming out of downtown. And then there's like about 1,500-foot gap to the Shelton, trail network. And we should be able to close that gap. And, these are the kinds of things that we're going to be sort of focusing in on. But we need information from the committee and other members of the town to try to close, areas that we need to, close gaps, either in sidewalks or in a bike route network. And again, we want to focus in on how to reduce crashes. The crash data, we are generating some maps that sort of show high accident locations. High crash location, not accident. We don't call them accidents anymore. But sort of like a heat map that shows a concentration of crashes or involving either pedestrians or bicyclists. Those are going to be areas that we're going to look at. And then providing access. There's a lot of attractions throughout the region. Schools, colleges and universities, state parks, local parks, just the downtown areas, train stations. We have a lot of attractions throughout the region that we'd like to provide better either walking or bicycling access to. And again, one of the differences between this plan and anything that's been done in the past is just the sort of the increasing use of electronic assisted devices. Because as e-assist devices are, becoming more popular, it just increases the number of people who are capable and willing to use them to make their trip. Just as an aside, I was down in New York last year, I think it was, and the number of e-bikes that we saw in Midtown was just incredible. And just a couple of years earlier, you saw a lot of people using, because they do have a fairly extensive bike share network. But it was, human powered bicyclists. Now it's everybody's has an e-bike that they're using, and that creates some challenges because people can travel a little bit faster on an e-bike. They also can travel longer distances and maintain that speed because they don't have to just rely on their own power for movement. So these are the types of things we're going to be trying to get a sense of and identify priority areas and locations. So think of it as a homework assignment. So any kind of suggestions that you have that we should look at in a little bit more detail, we'll take a look at. Any comments, questions? Okay, thank you. Turn it back over to Kate.
All right, folks, so with the state's active transportation plan, they have asked each COG to come up with a day, to plan a day around the region. So this is something I also was hopeful to get some of your thoughts on. There are certain parameters for what we should be looking at for the site visit. I do want to mention that we just had confirmation that our day will be Tuesday, May 6th. So that is the day we'll be looking to program out this day. And then we were thinking that we would start at the Valley Transit District in Derby and then make our way around the region, potentially on a Valley Transit bus. We want to focus on state-owned roads and regional trails, and also look at places that are causing issues that would be important to the work, like we were just saying, areas of concern, gaps we're looking to fill. So maybe not all the greatest projects we've done already, but the things we are looking to be able to do. We want to consider areas that have maybe crash histories. So we'll work with Tayo to kind of pinpoint some of those areas along potentially these routes. As well as areas that need improvements to create better connectivity to other biking or walking facilities or that improve comfort for users. And then again, we kind of brainstormed a bit first here, but we do want your thoughts. And just to kind of quickly go around, we figured that we could go up Route 115 from Derby through downtown Ansonia to Seymour. Maybe we could stop in Ansonia. I know Sheila is a part of this committee, so we were thinking we can get off in maybe downtown Ansonia, do a little walk, and then continue on to Seymour and Oxford and Southbury up Route 67, where it connects to Route 6 in Southbury. We also have the opportunity again to potentially get out in Southbury on Main Street. And then from there on Route 6 into Woodbury, another potential stop, maybe with the town planner there. I know Jerry hopped off the call because he had another meeting at 11:30, but Watertown, meeting up with Jerry there, maybe that would be a good stop for lunch into, or Thomaston. And then continuing on Route 6 to Plymouth and Bristol before connecting to Route 69 in Bristol, which would be another good stop. And that they, as they're working on a trail, we've worked with them on a trail plan there. Then down to Wolcott, back to Waterbury. We pointed out that we might want to stop at Lakewood Road in Waterbury for some of the pedestrian facilities or lack thereof. And then depending on timing, we're thinking of going down to Naugatuck on Route 63 to connect to Route 42 to Beacon Falls and then back down to Derby. So again, this is just a general outline. I believe we'll have from 9 a.m. to roughly 4 p.m. We'll have to kind of time out where we want to make those stops. And if anyone has any thoughts on especially places in your municipalities, even on this route or not, where you think would be a good stop, please let us know. Does anyone have any thoughts?
I don't want to harp on the other one, but I just tell you what was done when they did the bike ride from Torrington to Derby. Okay,
Sure.
they assembled at Derby, they put all their bikes on buses. I don't know, they took all the bikes up to Torrington, and then they rode from Torrington down. And along the way, they stopped and held news conferences in just about every town that they stopped at, every town they went through. You know, this is a little different, but it's the same idea of stopping and getting people in those communities involved. I would hope the chief elected official and whoever handles the transportation, but they did that and they got a little bit of publicity from it. I think Rosa DeLauro participated in one, so it's a way of bringing attention to it.
Yeah, and I think depending, we will definitely pre-plan the stops and ask some folks from those municipalities to be on hand to maybe give a tour, talk a bit about where we're stopping, what we're looking at. So that does give us some opportunity to invite maybe even some, like you said, representatives or
In the press, invite the press.
in the press, you said? that what you said? Jeff, what did you just say?
I'm drawing my mouse. Yeah, we had the press at each stop too to get some publicity about it.
And I don't think we had thought about bikes, but I'm curious if we could have access to any for a certain portion and plan a piece on bikes as well. I'm not sure where they got those bikes last time around, if you said they brought them on
It
like a
was
trailer.
individuals, they're
Oh, everyone.
bikes.
People brought their own.
Yeah.
Okay,
It was a, basically an organized ride, so it was individual private bikes, but they wanted to start up in Torrington and ride down. So that's why they bussed up, and then that way they all parked down here and then went up and then came back down.
got it.
And the National Park Service is the one who put it together.
Yeah, John
Yeah.
Monroe, that's right.
Okay, interesting.
But, you know, and as Kate mentioned, what we're planning on doing is using a VTD bus to carry everybody. Because of the distances involved, if you're driving from point A to point B, you know, if you're in individual cars, you can't be talking, but if we're all on a bus, this way we can sort of be talking about what we're seeing or what the problems we are as we're driving along. And then we can actually do more and, you know, cover much more of the region than if, we doing it, in a different way. So, yeah, it's something that, we're gonna be working on, as Kate said, identify, a schedule for when we're gonna do, planned stops. And, plan to have somebody from that town to talk about, what they see as our critical issues. Because again, this tour is really to inform, the state DOT, active transportation plan. Which is very important to, make sure, some of our local concerns are brought into the state plan.
Right, and if anyone again thinks of any places that we should stop, critical areas from your respective regions, definitely let us know. Because we are gonna start kind of really solidifying the tour so we can make sure that folks are available and at the spots at the times that we're coming through. All right. Does anyone else have any comments on this? Okay, we'll go to the next thing. So I'm gonna turn it over to Tayo to talk about some active transportation related things we've been involved with here. Adjacent to the plan, so Tayo.
Thank you, Kate. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tayo. I would like to give an update about the active transportation program of the Connecticut Department of Transportation. This started last year. It's a microgrant program which allows eligible entities to apply for funds not exceeding the sum of $5,000 to put in little things like bicycles, helmets, safety vests, instructional materials, and things like that. Eligible entities include schools, school districts, health districts, nonprofits, government agencies in the region. For the quarter, which just recently ended, on March 28th, I'm happy to report that we were able to get 46 applications in the region, and we were awarded the sum of $224,000 for these 46 beneficiaries. With these funds, it is expected to fund the purchase of 1,600 bikes, 2,600 helmets, 343 locks, and 592 safety vests, among other things throughout the region. Our beneficiaries include school districts, health districts, public library, a police department, nonprofits, and some schools, including all public schools in Waterbury. We are happy with the progress which we see. We think it's tangent to the plan, the active transportation plan. by encouraging active transportation throughout the region, by providing safety vests and helmets and instructional materials and bicycles. We do hope to see more people out over the next few weeks as the weather becomes better and these bikes are purchased. And we're really excited about it. We're still receiving applications because it's applications are received on an ongoing basis. And the next deadline is June the 27th. So I want to encourage you to talk to schools, libraries, school districts, nonprofits in your municipalities to reach out and go ahead and apply. I would like to take any questions.
So Jack asked online if there's a list of awardees that we can see.
Yes, we're preparing a press statement, which we will list the awardees. So please be on the lookout for that.
And then I think going along with that is that bike, walk, and roll to school day. Do you want to?
Okay. Related to that is the National Walk, Bike, and Roll to School Day. It's an annual event which is held throughout the United States to encourage kids in schools, elementary schools, high school, to actually either walk to school, to either bike to school, or to roll to school. We've seen that over the last few years, most people are either dropped at school by their parents or by the school bus. And this is an opportunity to get our kids active and be outdoors. It's going to be a day of fun and celebration. It's free. We'll be joining the rest of the United States in observing this day. We want to encourage all schools in all our school districts in every municipality to participate. There's an opportunity for them to register with the Safe Routes to School program at CONDOT. And this year, CONDOT has promised free incentives, which include stickers, bike safety bookmarks, and classroom materials to help the day, turn out fun. If you register, you'll be eligible for these freebies, which will be sent free of charge, delivered to your schools. So I want to encourage you to talk to our schools to please register for this program and see how we can observe this program. Thank you.
All right, so I see Paul's hand is up. I'll have Paul go and then invite anyone that wants to give any updates on projects or programs they're involved with relating to active transportation after that. So yes, Paul.
Hi, this is Paul with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. Thank you for the update. What you guys are doing with the microgrant program is fantastic, and we're so happy to see so many people participating. I just wanted to kind of reinforce that the grant is about bicycle and pedestrian education, like you said, and it has the greatest, most lasting impact when it's paired with some kind of education event. So when you have the helmets, and then maybe in a school or in a neighborhood event, they get a lesson on how to fit it to themselves, to adjust it, to make sure that the straps are connected correctly, or safe bicycle and walking, how to navigate the roadway. Are they allowed to be on the sidewalk? Yes, they are. But when is it best to be based on their age? Is it better for them to be on the right hand side of the road, or the context, how to navigate if there's a car parked on the side of the road? These are all things that help the kids feel more confident. And then when they have that equipment that the microgrant gives them, that they use it correctly. And then it just creates a much more lasting positive impact. I just wanted to really highly recommend the state Safe Routes to School program. You can sign up with us, or if they want to hold their own event, that's also wonderful. It also works really well with the walk, bike, and roll to school day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I know we have some other folks on the line that do good work in active transportation. Would anyone like to give an update on anything that they have coming up? I know May is sometimes bike month. But if anyone would like to share anything, please do.
Since you mentioned Bike Month, the Greater Hartford Area Bike to Work Day is May 15th. And from the coordination that's going around, we're able to, I've been participating a little bit in the planning, and it's been a great opportunity, not just to promote cycling and walking as safe or well, as healthy, efficient, low emission forms of transportation, but the network building. I've been coordinating with so many different advocacy groups and building this communication network that I think is going to help in the future in any planning efforts we have, or if we have projects coming up in the area. So I would just recommend to you guys, if you wanted to get involved with a local event, it's a great opportunity, not just to raise awareness of those modes of transportation, but also to build the social network or the community network between government and the advocacy organizations. It's been pretty positive in the Hartford region.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. All right, so we were thinking that the next meeting could be on May 7th at 11. Wanted to see if this would work for folks. It is the same day as the walk, bike, and roll to school, but it's a little later in the morning. And who knows, maybe we'll do something that morning as mentioned, and then have our meeting, but hopefully this day works for you. I don't see anyone saying anything else in the chat, but again, before we end the meeting, does anyone else have anything they would like to share before we go? Okay, so I thank everyone for their time. We will follow up with some of those requests that we had about your roads. And again, we'll also follow up with some more information about walk, bike, and roll, and how you can sign up and maybe get some of those educational materials for your area. And if you have anything that you want to share with us that we could then share out with the group or within our agency or beyond, again, with our communication teams or elsewhere, definitely don't hesitate to share those my way. And we could share them with our comms team and with this group as well. So I appreciate all your time. We'll also be sharing those first couple chapters of our plan to get your feedback prior to the next meeting, and hopefully we will see you folks again on May 7th. All right, thank you so much, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, bye.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.